So I've been meaning to hop on here and do my next follow-up video. My first video for the Gateway Project was just about doing the orientation. I stuck with the orientation for about a week, maybe a little bit more. I was doing it 2 times a day. Orientation takes you as far as Focus 3, which is pretty cool. And feels very straightforward. I did have some exciting experiences, and those were in my past video. And thank you to the one person who commented on them. I've had a really good time kind of just writing back and forth. And it was nice to know that this wasn't totally in a void or a vacuum, although truly I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that I'm recording these for not only to keep myself honest, but to be able to look back and reflect on it. I don't really enjoy taking notes after the sessions. I spend a lot of time thinking about it. And then being able to just drop in and put a little video together is really exciting. So the second video in the first batch in Discovery 1, Wave 1, is Intro to Focus 10. So I've done that almost every day, twice a day for 5 days now. I think I missed one day where I only was able to get one in. And it's pretty interesting. I've done myself kind of a service and then kind of a disservice by reading through some subreddits about Focus 10, trying not to get too deep and dwell on other people's experiences, but more just trying to wrap my head around what my understanding of it is. Focus 10 starts off pretty cool with regards to using the energy conversion box, which actually has become quite incredible. I've started throwing everything in there, and quite frankly, as my mind kind of distracts even past the point of using the conversion energy box, I just kind of like recall it. And I had the song Bare Necessity stuck in my head because my kids are listening to it all the time, and I just pulled the song out and dropped it in the box and closed it, and it actually went away. And that was the first time I've had the experience of having something sort of stuck on a drone note while I was meditating and having it actually disappear after taking some small action. So that was pretty amazing. Resonant tuning as well is that process of drawing in new energy and letting it swirl around your head, and then on a vocalization sort of blowing it out. It reminds me of an Om, pushing all the stale energy out as you're sort of, I guess, refilling your energy centers. That's pretty interesting. I won't recap the whole thing, who cares? But my experiences have been pretty varied with regards to this, and I did get to go on and ask somebody about one thing that was happening, and they kind of confirmed. They offered me the term clicking out, which I might have mentioned in the last video, I can't remember. But it's this process where you just kind of like stop hearing, you stop listening. You're not asleep, but you just get to this place where all of a sudden you're aware of the silence and the tape has just ended. On my journey through Focus 10, that has happened much more frequently than it did on the orientation tape, which kind of makes sense. I've been playing with sitting up and lying down. I'm finding that I have a way more profound experience when I stay in a seated position. Focus 10 is kind of listed as mind awake, body asleep, and then there's this other sensation that I don't know if I'm describing it right, or even if this is what's supposed to be happening, but it's almost like this like pulling away, or this like weird polarization, or like a falling from something that has happened to me pretty much each time I've gotten to go down the path moving towards Focus 10. As he counts you from Focus 3 up to Focus 10. That sensation is really present. Somebody gave me a great piece of advice, which was, instead of just imagining that your limbs are going numb when you bring your focus to them, actually let them disappear. And I found that to be extremely powerful, and it's working most of the time. I feel like I'm able to get myself to a place where I'm just kind of floating. I can't find my body, and a couple times I've tried to like wiggle my finger to see if I could just send the impulse down there as I was coming aware, and I couldn't right away. Or it didn't right away. I shouldn't say that I couldn't. I'm sure I could if I had tried hard enough. But the simplicity with which I can do it on a moment-to-moment basis in Focus 1, as they call it, wasn't there. That faculty was just like reduced to nothing. It was like there was a severing of the connection. In Focus 10, I feel like when I don't click out, I achieve mind awake, body asleep quite frequently and quite profoundly. 1 out of every 2 or 3 times I make it all the way to the end of the tape when he walks you back out, but sometimes right somewhere in the middle of the end of the tape where he is talking about when you come out of this, you'll have tremendous energy and you'll be in balance and all that. I just kind of disappear, and I don't end up hearing him count me back up to focus 1. So that's kind of, I don't know, strange. I don't know what's supposed to be happening. There were 2 times that as I experienced this kind of like, the only way that I can describe it is like a falling sensation or like a pulling away. It felt as though some part of me, the true part of me, the inside part of me, was like stretching itself wider and thinner and further until it was no longer tethered to something, to my body, or to my bed or the Zabuton that I was sitting on or whatever it is. And there were 2 times that while that was happening, I also got this really rich, kind of like rounded light, without a light source per se, just almost to say like, it's like if you were staring up at an overcast sky and you closed your eyes, you would still kind of have that like that bright whiteness as a film all the way across the insides of your eyes. But I was sitting in a dark room, so that's not what was happening. But it was the same effect. Yeah, Focus 10 has been the most incredible thing actually about Focus 10. Sorry, bury the lead here. Is every time I come out of it, the amount of clarity of focus that I have and energy, like pure energy. Like one of the times I came out of it and it was 10 or 10:30 at night. And I just decided to stay up. I stayed up working on a project. I'm not really a hobby person, but I decided recently that I was going to build a cardboard marble run for my kids. And so it's been pretty cool having this little project to do. And I just sat there and worked on it for 4 hours, way later than I should as a dad with 2 young kids. And then they rustled at 4 and I climbed into bed with the 2 of them to help settle them, and I fell asleep myself. And then I woke up at 7 o'clock. And that I should have ruined my next day completely. And I had tremendous energy all through that next day. So much so that after I dropped them off at school and came back home, I did another Focus 10, came out of it again with this fantastic clarity and energy and focus, and made it through my entire day. Heavy day, long day, made it home, did it again at 10 o'clock. And again, had more energy, decided this time, like that reasonably I should go to sleep, but I didn't want to push it. I didn't know what was happening. But each time, not to say that I didn't need sleep, but that whatever was happening in Focus 10 and coming out of Focus 10 was so rejuvenating and so like it absolutely filled me, but it also felt like it like rewired my mind in a way that allowed me to find more space in my day-to-day life. And I have found that through this, aside from today where I had a terrible wake up with the kids, very rude awakening. But aside from today, every morning that I've had and every night that I've been at work, I find it easier. I find it less grumpy. I find it less taxing. Like it's as though now I wake up from a sleep and I'm just ready to carry on with a waking day. Which who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've dived back into a rich meditative practice that has me meditating, morning and night, and maybe that it's as simple as that. But it feels as though that wasn't happening with Focus 3 in the orientation tapes. That's specific to this Focus 10. So I was given a piece of advice by somebody on one of the threads that I should really stick with Focus 10 and master it before I move on. And as I'm going through it, I now realize that I don't know what that means. I am going to stick with it. I think I'm going to introduce myself to the advanced Focus 10 because I'm curious and I want to know what more there is to it. And what I do know is that I can always drop back in and do Focus 10 again. I suspect that I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I can tell, or I can feel, it feels like, I shouldn't say I can tell, I don't know left from right, but it feels as though while I'm in Focus 10 right now, I am like I start here and I kind of get myself here, and I can feel that there's all of this space to climb, to ascend, to grow, to whatever it is, and that whatever's happening, my body is asleep. Like, it's not numbness, it's not just relaxed, it's out. But my mind is there and it's present, and it's not doing monkey mind nonsense talk. It's not distracted, but it also doesn't quite feel like it's unlocked, if that makes sense. It feels as though it is tethered to the space that the tape is occupying, which feels as though there's a little bit of a boundary. And maybe that's exactly what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Which partially is why I'm excited to try Focus 15, or Focus 15, the Advanced Focus 10, because I'm curious to see if there's another tool that sort of gets implemented. Excuse me. Is that a white hair? If there's another tool that gets implemented that kind of helps unlock a next piece of the puzzle, or if where it's at is where it's at. One thing is for sure, I find this meditative practice so profound. And one thing that's been happening in my day-to-day life that is just weird to me, and again, I'm not choosing to read too much into it, but I'm also not dismissing it outright at all. My hearing has been crazy. I don't have great hearing to begin with. There's nothing wrong with my ears. I've gone to get my ears tested actually recently because, like, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, because I just thought something's wrong. I can't hear anything. And now I'm hearing the most specific frequencies that I've never picked up on before everywhere I go. I can hear if there's a router, which I'm sure everybody can, or I'm sure other people can, but I have never been able to hear it. It's just never been something that my ear tuned itself to. Sometimes I can hear talking that's just far enough away, but it's real, like people out on the baseball diamond across the street, or my neighbors downstairs, or the neighbors next door. And I say it's real not because I'm like, oh, maybe it's not real, and I'm hearing things, or there's some connection. I just mean that, like, I investigate. I go and I seek out where I'm hearing it from, so that I can make sense of what it is that I'm hearing. And I find the smoking gun. I'm like, that's it. But also, why am I able to hear that? So, anyways, it's not usually people. It's usually things that make sounds. Being in the car and hearing a sound that I've never heard before, but like, there's nothing wrong with the car. It's not like I'm hearing a sound and I've got to, like, I got to take it to the shop. Just there's a noise that the car makes, a frequency that the car is emitting that I've never been tuned into before. So that's interesting. Again, like, until things just obviously make sense, I don't feel the need to work them to make some sense out of them. It is definitely peculiar when I make these observations, and I'm curious about them, and I just kind of pay attention to them, and I just enjoy them and enjoy the experience of the feedback that the world is giving me. And it's kind of how I'm approaching the tapes as well. When I'm in Focus 10, I haven't had an experience where I've gotten down on myself or I've doubted anything. I just sort of go like, all right, that was today. Let's see what tomorrow brings, or let's see what the next one in the day brings. Yeah. Trying to remember if there's anything else that has happened, but I don't think so. The two pieces for me: extreme clarity and tremendous energy for some like surprising reason. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so energy doesn't come naturally to me, and I tend to work nights, but I also usually have commitments during the day. So like I am just like going a lot. And to be able to have that much energy is very surprising to me. Anyways, I don't have much more to say here. This has been sort of my recap of Focus 10 for myself. This is just the introduction to Focus 10. Like I said, I'm going to zip forward and try the advanced, and then I'll probably zip back into the OG version. And I'll be back with another video maybe in a week or so. If you do have comments, please post them here. I love writing about it. I love hearing people's advice and tips and tricks and ideas. And I spend a lot of time in the Gateway Reddit thread, where I think there's a lot of fantastic people that are so generous with their time and their energy and their points of view. But again, I don't know what this will be. I've started following the Monroe Institute on Instagram, and I saw that Chris Bledsoe and Chris Bledsoe Jr. are there this week, and it's been pretty cool to see the little pods and their setup and kind of hear a little bit about what they're doing. And he's going to do a blog or a vlog or something later this week or next week when they get out. But I'm very curious to hear about that place from the inside, because right now I'm just I do it in a little corner in my bedroom, and my results are my results, and my experience is my experience. But I'm pretty enamored with the idea of going to the Monroe Institute, although I don't have the kind of I don't know that I have a direct pathway there yet. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyways, if you've listened this far, thanks for listening. If you haven't listened this far, you'll never hear me say thanks. So you missed out. Anyways, Gateway Tape 2 signing off. Focus 10. Rah rah. Bye.